Welcome everybody to AI Horizons, the September edition. It looks like we have about 93, 94 people and more are joining. So we are going to go ahead and get started with today's activities. And this month we have two great presenters, but before I introduce them and get to their content, I have a few short announcements. I'm going to show you two things, and then I'm going to tell you about two things that are happening here at Penn State. So the first things I want to share with you are two newish resources and initiatives that our team here in TLT have developed and launched this semester. So the first one is going to be what we are calling Creative Labs. So this is a new name, but some of the content in here will not be new to a lot of you. So these Creative Labs are going to be our hands-on facilitated workshops that we host here in the Dreamery for faculty and students. A faculty can reserve a session with us and bring their class to the Dreamery. And you do that just by going to the Dreamery website here. And the three Creative Labs we have, we're calling these AI Creative Labs, are our Music Lab, which used to be called AI Artist Lab. Some of you may have already gone through one of those experiences. An AI Code Lab, which is relatively new. We've tested that with a few staff and faculty groups, and we've done it with two classes so far this semester. So that one is our newest one. And then the AI Game Lab, which used to be called Can AI Play. That is the most vetted one that we have. And I'm just going to show you a couple student examples from each workshop that we've been doing here in the Dreamery, starting with the Game Lab. So this one, students come to us and they will work with an AI, either ChatGPT, Copilot, their choice, and that AI becomes a design partner in a group of 4 students, and through that, they work with this AI to create a physical tabletop board game. So we provide a bunch of board game elements, whether that's gold coins or dice or Monopoly money, and through that, in one class period, they leave with a fully playable board game. And these can look like other board games. Some students will start with Monopoly and change that up. Others will create totally new board games. So these are just a few examples of what students have created, and these are available to book now if you are a faculty member or if you are a staff member that work with faculty. These experiences can be booked for your classes to get them introduced and working with AI. Okay, so the next one I want to show you is the AI Music Lab. So in this workshop, students come here and in one class session, students will work with AI text tool, either ChatGPT, Copilot. They will work with Suno, which is an AI music tool, produces music, and Adobe Express. Adobe Express is the AI tool we use for students to create album artwork. And at the end, they will walk away with a music video with all AI generated content. So we're just gonna pick a random one here and see if we get lucky. But this is called Little Bart Celebrate. We're gonna see if we can play this here.
Sun is up, good vibes flow. Party starts and the energy grows. Dogs bark to the beat we throw. Life's a blast, let's let it show. Streets alive with laughter loud. Yeah, we own this joyful crowd. The brain shakes, we're feeling proud. Hands up high and we're not bowed. Party, party, get on your feet. Drums pumping, feel that heat. Guitarists make hearts skip a beat. Dance all night, never miss a beat.
So that was Barkin' Party. So as you can see, we have many examples here from students who have went through this workshop already. And students are loving this one. This seems, last semester, this was our most popular one. I think this semester so far, we have a lot of code workshops already scheduled. And code workshop, we're gonna look at examples of what that one is next. So here is the AI Code Lab. And we don't have many examples here yet, but here are just a few examples of what some groups have already created. So this is what students will create. So this is all code here that students generated with an AI, whether that's Copilot or ChatGPT. And every student we've had or every person that has gone through this workshop is not a coder. So this is a little sneak peek of what our presenters will be talking about today. But not only do they develop the code for this lab, but they also develop AI generated artwork and AI generated music. So the goal for the AI Code Lab is the student groups will pick a random retro video game and they will recreate it with a twist. So at the end, all these assets in this code turns into Ketchup Dawn is what this group has created. So I'm gonna press enter to survive until dawn. See if we can get it to work. Here we go. Okay, so it looks like I'm playing as a chicken nugget. And I'm shooting forks because the chicken nugget, I guess, might not want to be eaten. Okay, so this is a fun game. And this is what students will create when they go through the AI Code Lab, which is another facilitated AI experience for the team. A lot of windows. There we go. Okay, and I'm just going to show one more quick plug because this is something I created and I think is very fun. But this is a fourth and cone. So this is an example we show the students of what they can create. So we have the Nittany Lion throwing footballs at ice cream. So that is what students will create. Free AI Creative Labs available for someone. Yes, I can share the link in chat. But faculty can choose one of those workshops, bring their students to the Dreamery, and it is a hands-on facilitated workshop by our team. So let me get that link for you. Let's do this. Here we go. Okay, so the second thing that we would like to share is the AI Arcade, which there should be a news article being published this week about this in-person experience as of right now. But the AI Arcade is located in the Shields building right next to the Dreamery here. So in our new media commons. So this is a physical space that right now we have 4 iPads, and in these 4 iPads are the only location where students can come and access premium AI tools. So we have access to ChatGPT Pro. We have access to the paid versions of Suno and Midjourney. And our team is currently exploring more AI tools that we can bring to students so they can come here and test these tools out without having to pay the premium subscriptions. But here is the website of what this looks like. So a little disclaimer here that students can access these tools anywhere, but to access the premium versions, they have to come in person to the AI Arcade in the Shields building. And with the AI Arcade, we have featured activities. So we have custom design experiences that relate to either ChatGPT, Midjourney, or Suno, where students can not only explore these premium applications, but we have activities that get them creating and designing in those tools themselves. And what is an AI Arcade without games? So the games that are created in the AI Code Workshop, we are taking those and we are placing them on the AI Arcade website. So students can come to the arcade in person and play them, or they can pull up this website anywhere and play these AI games that were made by students and customized in their own image. So that is the AI Arcade and our AI Creative Labs, which are both available to faculty and students right now.
We did have a question, Zach.
Okay.
Can Commonwealth students participate in the AI labs, the creative labs?
Yes,
Do you want to
so
elaborate on that a little bit?
yeah, so we are working on bringing the creative labs to the Commonwealth students. I didn't showcase are websites for the Creative Labs, because right now those are internal, but we are using websites as worksheets and facilitation presentation notes. So instead of using a slide deck, we have a sites page for each one. And we are working on making those self-facilitated, and also working on a train the trainer model. So other staff or faculty can take these Creative Labs and deploy them anywhere. Two of them at the moment can be done totally asynchronously. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out to myself and we can work on scheduling that. Possibly look at an in-person session. If not, we can do asynchronous for the music lab and the code lab. Right now, the AI game lab is an in-person only workshop as we are working with physical board game pieces, but we're looking at ways to make that also all online as well as an option. So great question. Can PSU staff connect with the AI lab to integrate into our student experience? I would love to chat more with you about that question. I would love more context on what that means, but my first reaction is yes, let's figure out what that looks like. But yeah, reach out, or do you have any more context for that question?
I'll connect with you after this.
Perfect,
Thank you.
awesome. How can we use the AI lab for more specific topics such as supply chain management? This is a great question. I would love to explore that with you outside of AI Horizons. Right now, the AI Creative Labs are more designed for entry-level experience with these AI tools. So getting these AI tools in front of the students who may not have any experience, or if faculty have just a baseline expectation of, we want to introduce AI in these ways. This is one avenue for that. I would love to chat more about supply chain to see if that works for that. We have another question that is a direct message. How long is a workshop session? So these are all designed to be completed in one class. So we have designed them to be 45 to 50 minutes. If you have a 75-minute class, we can stretch that out and do more engaged experiences, but they can be all done within a 50-minute class. Okay, so I'm going to move on just for the sake of time, but there's great questions in here and I will answer them in chat once I am done presenting, but I got two more quick things to share. The third thing is an AI resource submission form. So I am part of the AI Student Literacy Task Force here at Penn State, one of several task forces that have been charged from the provost of looking at what AI literacy means for faculty, staff, and students here at Penn State. And part of our charge is we are starting benchmarking on what is available out there at Penn State. What are the student resources now that students can participate in revolving around AI? So if you have any projects or ideas or anything that is available to students, could you please share them in this form here so our team is aware of those and we can consider that into our planning for the next semester or two. And if you have any questions about that, please reach out to me as well. And the last thing I'd like to share is from our friends over at the Nittany AI Alliance. So they have an event this Thursday in the hub. This is a idea discovery workshop, which is co-hosted with, I don't have that information in front of me, but it is, if you would like to attend, it is an evening workshop and they are providing food. So they do ask that you do register for this. It is open to faculty and staff as well as students. They will have hands-on idea generating sessions, breakout sessions. So they are asking for help from the community if you are interested in the Nittany AI Challenge or helping brainstorm with students. Come to that. It is an evening session. So they are welcoming all faculty who are willing to roll up their sleeves and work with students around AI. Okay, so that is all the announcements and general related things I wanted to share with you today. And I'm going to turn things over to Brad Kozlak and Kent Matsueda, who will be sharing and talking about vibe coding, which is directly related to our AI code workshop today. So Brad and Kent, take things away.
Thanks, Zach. Let me just pull up my presentation and share my screen. All right, does that look good to everybody? Seems like it. All right, good. So hi, my name, as mentioned, is Brad Kozlik. I work for Creative Learning Initiatives in TLT. And for the last several years, I've been working on some various AI projects. I was, in a past life, a developer, so I do have some technical background that I was able to utilize in some of this vibe coding exploration I did. But as you see, the title here is Vibe Non-Coding. So really, if you are allergic to code, don't know anything about code, don't worry about it, because we're not really going to look at or talk about code at all in this session, Ken or I. This past summer, I did convene, you might have seen in the AI Horizons team space, this Vibe Code Collab, which was I was trying to get people interested in vibe coding and just like, so we could kind of create a little community, talk about it, see how people are using it or what the issues are. We really had like 6 people in regular attendance, none of whom were developers, and it really opened my eyes to the potential of vibe coding. And so I'm going to talk about what I've learned about vibe coding here. And we're going to start with an audience poll, though, just to kind of get an idea of where everyone is. So I'm just kind of curious, as you can see the poll here, what have you, what is your experience with code? And we see the answers coming in. We have most of the answers in, yeah. So yeah, a few times we have maybe between regularly and I code professionally about 28%. So we do have some coders here, and I think there'll be some tips and tricks for you as well here. But also people that don't have a lot of experience, I think there'll also be a lot here for you. Did I mean to click that? I don't know. Anyway, so vibe coding, what is it, right? People may have no idea. So it is, so this term was really coined in February of this year, so it's a very new term. This first bullet point here, this is from Andre Karpathy, who was one of the, I think, founders or very early people working in OpenAI that created ChatGPT. And he said, there's a new kind of coding I call vibe coding, where you fully give into the vibes, embrace exponentials, and forget that the code even exists. In essence, what he's talking about is just like asking AI to write code, but not write the code for you as a developer to look at and use, but just like, don't even look at it. You just fully give in to the AI to do everything with the code. The next bullet point here is from Merriam-Webster, which I think is maybe a little more illuminating, where it says it's a recently coined term for the practice of writing code, making web pages, or creating apps by just telling an AI program what you want and letting it create the product for you. In vibe coding, the coder does not need to understand how or why the code works, and often will have to accept a certain number of bugs and glitches will be present. So what we're not going to talk about, because if you were to like Google vibe coding, there's a lot of talk about like how this might be like the worst thing ever. And I like kind of took some of these headlines and put them up here on the slide. And really, that's not the kind of vibe coding I'm going to be talking about today. I'm not talking about this as a tool for professional software engineers to do anything, so I'm not talking about it as using AI as a professional software developer, although certainly AI is being used, but maybe not as pure vibe coding, but actually as an assistant to write code. Using AI code to code mission critical systems or infrastructure, again, I don't think that would be a good use for this. Even like more complex apps, like using AI for making like applications that might have like multiple users and code that runs on a server and things like that. Again, not what I'm talking about. But what I am going to be talking about is how to use vibe code to solve your very own specific problems with maybe scripts you run on your local computer or browser-based widgets. And I really see this as a way for non-developers to unlock computer superpowers with just a tiny bit of technical know-how. So a tiny bit of know-how, again, Karpathy talked about exponentials, so maybe that's where I'm getting into here, a huge amount of possibility with just a little bit of knowledge. So first, I'm going to show you a bunch of the products of vibe coding in action just to kind of so everyone has an idea of what we're talking about here. And then I'm going to go back and go through the process and talk about how I built these apps with AI. So this is the example I use a lot when I first started talking about it, because this was my personal story where I really first felt the power of vibe coding. I had a file that was just a list of 2,600 user IDs, and I needed to know and these were Penn State user IDs, and I needed to know what their role was at the university. Were they student, faculty, staff, etc. So, I think previously I might just be like, well, I can't do that. I can't look up 2,600 people in the directory and know what the answer is. It's just a task that couldn't be done. However, I was like, well, I know there is a Penn State directory. Why don't I ask AI to write a code to do this? And I want to stress this is different than just giving AI that file and saying, tell me what the answer is. Right now, an LLM can't really do that kind of a task at all, I'm going to say. Perhaps with the rise of some of these more agentic AIs in the future, some tasks might be done that way. But what I had to do, and also I didn't want to give this data over to Penn State or like have the AI teach it how to access the Penn State directory either. So what I said, so instead I just asked it to write a little script that I could run on my computer that would open that file, look everyone up in the directory, and give me what everyone's role is. And so this is what it looked like. I asked it to write a piece of code, which I ran, which connected to the 2,600 user IDs files, looked up everyone in the directory, and then spit out a CSV file that could open Excel that had all of the user IDs and their role in it. But one big caveat here is I know how to run code on my computer. So for me, that was kind of easy. That can be a roadblock. It's one thing I discovered in the Vibe Code Collab that maybe is a bigger roadblock than I originally thought, although I think also Kent will be talking as someone without development experience about in more detail about the thoughts on that roadblock. So I'm going to talk first now about something here that came out fairly recently, Claude Artifacts. And this allows you to kind of vibe code solutions, but there's no need to know how to run the code or even see the code or anything. So this, for the things that work in sort of a browser-based widget, this tool is really great for the non-coder. And so as you see here, you have your AI on the left side where you're talking to. On the right side, you have this pane where the app is actually running. So I'm going to do an example here. This is something that I created in the Vibe Code Collab just kind of as a demo. So here is this wave interference simulator. And so as you can see, the waveform is moving, but I can, change. I can move these around. So this is a simple app. that kind of, see, they're the same frequency. Let's move up here. Get a little dizzy looking at that. We also have some different like presets here for different types of waves that are in there. It describes what these different wave patterns are down here. We have the pause, reset button. Right, so I have all of these. So again, I was able to create that without looking or seeing or knowing any code. And here is what it in essence looked like. I had this create a wave interference simulator, create standing wave patterns by adjusting frequency, amplitude, and phase of multiple wave surfaces. That was my only prompt. And it created all this. And not only does it create this code, which then you can use, but you'll see up here, you have this ability. It says publish because I've already published this one, but you can in essence publish these widgets. So, if they click on that, you get, artifact is published. You get a link to it that you can share. You can also get an embed code, which was something we really struggled with in the Vibe Code Colab because there wasn't a way to embed it. So we had to come up with workarounds. Now there's an embed code right there you can get. So if you wanted to embed what you've created into another web page, you can do that. And I'm going to give a shout out here to Heidi Spohr from EMS, because that's exactly what she did. She was one of our Vibe Code collabers, and she created this orders of magnitude widget to help demonstrate orders of magnitude to students in this geosci course, and was able to embed it right into the course content, and students can interact with it there. Another great thing about Claude is these artifacts don't just need to be these kind of apps that just work on your input as the user. They can also in the back end utilize AI. So they can in the back end connect to AI and use those AI features in the app. So here's another thing we created as a proof of concept in the Vibe Code Collab, which is a Jeopardy game. And here I can play it. I create a little screencast, but in essence, this AI-powered Jeopardy game. So you can enter in players' names, choose your difficulty level. You're going to enter in all your categories, whatever you want, and then when you click Generate Board Game, this will, in essence, create this Jeopardy board game. It's going to connect to AI. In the back end, as you'll see, to generate the questions to populate this board game. So, and I will point out that because these are Claude artifacts, the Claude artifacts, they allow them to use the API on the back end without like charging you credits or anything like that. So as you saw, click Generate Board Game, it generates. I can click on a question, Star Trek. I saw we have a Captain Kirk in the audience when people are coming in. So you can put in the answer. AI then checks the answer and mentions if it's correct or not. Keep score. We'll keep the game moving along. It's a full-featured game. Here's another one I'll show quickly, which is this Molecule Studio. So again, this uses AI in the background, so you can type in any molecule you could think of. It will then use AI to ask it what is the structure of this molecule, get that data back, and then it will visualize it here. And as the user, you can manipulate the molecule. This is one that I actually did not create. Someone else created this. And it's in there. Claude actually has a gallery of different artifacts, and that's where I found that. But I thought it was an interesting example. Yeah, it's just again. So now I'm going to talk about how I created, how I vibe code, in essence, how I've created some of these widgets. So the AI Jeopardy, again, it's an iterative process. So I started here by making an AI-powered artifact Jeopardy game that starts by asking the user what topic and level of difficulty the question should be. And then the questions are generated by AI. I don't spend a lot of time fixing typos or wording my prompts with AI. I don't know. That's just me. That's how I do it. So anyway, I did that, and it created on the left here this kind of like you do a topic. It just kind of gave you some questions afterwards. It wasn't really like a full-fledged Jeopardy game. So then I said, make this like a Jeopardy board where the player can choose the category and dollar amount and make the game have 3 players. So in essence, it expanded the board. Again, I tried this with Star Trek. It said, who is the captain, played by William Shatner. I typed in, who is Kirk? It said, well, it marked it red, so that was wrong because the answer was, who was James T. Kirk? It also says here it was Kent's answer, but that was my answer. But Kent is the next player because I got it wrong, but down there. So there was some bugs in this. I would say both some features I didn't want, like this kind of rigid answering, and also a bug where it said Kent was Kent's answer. So then I said, can you use AI to determine if the answers are correct or not? Because getting the exact wording right is not likely. Also, when displaying the answer, it uses the name of the next player instead of the current player. And so now here on the right, you see in this screenshot, it's kind of working correctly. It identifies it was my answer. The correct response was, who is Spock? I put, who is Mr. Spock? But it still was able to say, well, that was correct. It used AI to determine that. But one of the issues I had was when it was checking the answer, like the app was just not responsive. There was no indicator of what was happening. You'd say submit, and the app would just seem to not do anything for like 4 seconds. And it would, I think that would be confusing to whoever was playing the game. So I said, add an indicator that the answer is being checked with AI, since that takes a few seconds and users aren't sure what's happening. Also, remove the requirement that the answer has to be in the form of a question. I was just done with typing who is. So the game went through, but then when it got to the point where you checked with AI, I got this error running artifact. And the thing that was actually pretty great is, normally I'd say, well, you can copy and paste the error in. With this, I was able to just kind of click on it, and it kind of just put it right into the chat. So it put the error there and said, can you fix this error? In which case, it did fix the error. Now, you see when I answer the question, you have this AI is checking your answer. And as you saw before in the screen recording, there's a little wheel that turns. So that really, again, shows this process of how, you might ask for something, but then you can continue to build it, refine the bugs, fix the functionality that might work the way you want through this iterative process. I mentioned the Molecule Studio before. I did not create that, but a great other feature of these cloud artifacts is if you're using one, that, maybe someone shared one with you, there's this customize button. So you can actually here's the Molecule Studio. I can click customize, and then just opens up a chat and it says, hey, what do you want to do to this? So maybe I want to change it, right? I want to change the color scheme. I want it to behave in some different way. I want to do, instead of molecules, I want it to model, be specialized for like protein strands or something. I don't know what it might be, but you can start to build on top of that with AI. So I think this ability to remix artifacts is really powerful. And I think I'm be interested to see like how this artifact remixing, where that really goes in the future. So I did mention artifacts and I'm talking about this a lot because you don't need to know anything about code to use them, but there are some limits of them. Like they are browser JavaScript based. They don't support anything that would be multi-user persistent. This all just runs in the browser. There's no server component to it. So for doing things like maybe like my example before, handling spreadsheets, you wanted to go through files on your computer and do something with it, the artifacts wouldn't be the most suitable tool. Here's the links to these artifacts I showed, just so they're in the presentation later. The presentation will be shared and you can use these artifacts and remix them if you want. Because of time, I'm really going to just skip this. This was a more advanced, a little talk about some of the more advanced things that I've done and learned, but I'm actually just going to throw it over to Kent now because of time. And also I think Kent will speak to a lot of these things better, especially as a non-developer. So Kent, take it away.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot, Brad. Yeah, let me see if I can get my screen sharing going here. All right, sorry, let me hide that some of the stuff. So what I'll also do is put a link to my presentation in here. And one thing I want to start off with is kind of returning back to that sort of thought about what is vibe coding. And one of the things I've been thinking about is like, well, how is vibe coding different than coding with AI? And I went to ChatGPT and asked, and it came up with this interesting concept of thinking. So coding with AI is more like someone perhaps like Brad or some of the other folks in our audience here who are using or who are professional coders or developers. We're using AI as an assistant, and so in that instance, it might be more of like they're driving the car and they're using GPS navigation to help them get where they're going. But vibe coding, as Brad has said, is very different. At first I was trying to think of it like subsets, but it's kind of like an either or approach, perhaps. Where in this case, you're in the self-driving car and you're just telling, like maybe like Waymo or whatnot, like where to go. And in this case, you might be, definitely providing it with some input, like, oh, take this turn, it's shorter or whatever, or there's a traffic jam or whatnot. So you're still involved, but it's really the AI that's taking you where you need to go. And I wanted to just start off with a quick example of this is just a short summary or synopsis of my first interaction with this. And I still have the chat. It goes on and there's a lot of other stuff there. So I thought I'd boil it down for you here. And it went something like, hey, what is Python? Right. And how do I use it on my Mac? And it just started going off with this really great definition. And it started like taking off with, well, here, do all this stuff to use it. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Let's back up here. And can I use it with Canvas? And that's kind of a loaded question because I knew I could, but I just didn't know how. And it said, well, yeah, you can use the Canvas API and do all this stuff. And I'm like, well, wait a second. Like, what is the Canvas API? How do I do this? What do I do next? And then it kind of backtracked again and it said, well, do these things. And I tried doing it, got some errors, right? I didn't know what any of this meant. But the neat thing was it said basically like, don't worry, here's what's going on. Here's why you're having this problem, and here's how to fix it. And that was really the hook for me. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And this all happened in the span of like, I don't know, 20 minutes of me playing around. And I want to talk a little bit about my background. I'm an instructional designer here at Penn State at the College of IST. But I think it's important to kind of go back beyond that. And from when I was a kid, I was interested. Oh, sorry, I don't know why my hand is raised here. I was interested in drawing and printmaking. I liked photography. In Japan, I started learning how to do pottery. Started to apply some of these skills with graphic design, and more recently with 3D printing and modeling. And so I'm interested in a lot of creative outlets. And yet I've also always been interested in technology. Some of my first computing pieces of technology were an old VT100 terminal. It's not even a computer. Like you had to connect to a mainframe to use it. We got an early 512K Mac, and I wanted to share that because that's where I started. Like I needed a graphic user interface. I wasn't a command line or MS-DOS user. I tried it, but when the Mac came out, that's what I was lucky that my parents, went with something like that. Because I want you to keep that in mind as I move forward here. That I consider myself, again, more an instructional designer, a creative person than someone with a technical background. I want to be mindful of our time here because I want to leave time for a lot of questions. So I'm not going to go through, but you can take a look at some of these examples. But one of the examples I wanted to share was a script I'd created to, it wasn't one of the first one. Well, it wasn't the first batch of first ones, but it wasn't the first one I worked on. But I wanted to have a way to export everything in Canvas section as a single HTML file. And you might be asking, well, why would you want that? And that's because years ago, back in, I think, 2016, our office made the decision that when we switched from Angel to Canvas, that we were not going to use an external CMS along with our course. And that saved us a number of times. But it also has limitations because, you know, Canvas has limited ways of how we can display our course content, but more importantly, how we can manage that content. And there's a number of times when we've needed to get more information about what we have in our courses, whether it's for accessibility remediation, whether it's for, you know, assisting in the revision process of a course. But these are a couple screenshots from that file in different areas. And, you know, this is how it starts off. You know, I've got access to the information about the course. Further down, I've got a list of just all of the things in the module view. Later on, I can actually take a look at, you know, all the stuff in the assignments, the directions, the point settings, rubric, if there is one. And so all of this information is in a single HTML file. I can also look at the HTML if needed to like find troublesome links, etc. So having that is super, super useful. Also, wanted to give a shout out to Kate Morgan and Jason Susko, both at World Campus and HHD. We worked on a script we refined a script that I had to really help with accessibility. We have a fantastic tool in Canvas called Ally that gives us a lot of great information, but we needed something more. And what this script does is it outputs a CSV file with information about, you know, if I click on any of these links right here, I'll get the actual image. If I click on this link here, any of these links, I'll go to the place in Canvas where those images are. And the reason is I can get information, this script gives me information about accessible aspects of, well, a lot of information about the image, the size, but also does it have alt text? I mean, just looking at this, as someone who does a lot of accessibility, I can see like, I'm gonna need to do some work on this particular image that's in this quiz question. I don't have to go searching now. I can find it easily, fix it, and go on. You can see some of these might be okay. Some of them are decorative images, but it gives me a quick and easy way to see where I need to put the most amount of attention to and start working on that. And again, this is designed to complement other accessible tools that we've got access to, like Ally. Right. And I have got a library that I want to share with you. I've got a link in here, but one of the things I created when doing this is creating a template that has things in it that will help you to do this. And the tool that I've chosen to use is something that Kate had introduced our team to, which is called Google Colab. And it's a Google Colab notebook. And what it is it is Google's hosting of something called Jupyter Notebook that's been out and you can install. But basically what it is it's a way for you to share, edit, and develop code, in this case, Python. If there was a way I could hide the code from the view, I would love to do that. That way, you know, people I share this with wouldn't even have to see the code. But to be honest, I just, for the most part, not ignore it, but just scroll past it. Thankfully, some of these languages are a little bit more human readable. So if I wanted to, I can just kind of look at this and be like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I can see kind of what's happening, but I really don't need to. And anyway, the neat thing about this is I don't have to set up anything on my computer because my computer is administratively locked down. And while there are ways to potentially still run code on my computer, it's so much easier to run it through Colab. So anyway, you can take a look at the template and my other examples and see if that's something you're that you're interested in looking at. I did want to go back to some other vibe coding examples that were shared by others at the meetups this past summer that Brad had mentioned. Mark DeLuca with Smeal shared some amazing examples that he's been working on. Syllabus Bot, a tool that creates sort of knowledge checks to go along with videos, to have sort of co-located sort of knowledge checks when after someone has watched a video. An AI citation generator. You can think of like the OWL tool, but specifically, I think more for AI citations. And then Heidi's tool that Brad had mentioned, the orders of magnitude sort of widget. These things were super inspiring to me about like other things that could be done. And here you can find a link to the library of scripts that I've built up as well. Again, I want to leave time for questions, so I'm not going to go into these, but these are really based on, and kind of going back to what Brad was saying, like, things that as a designer, I needed some assistance with. And I want to talk about that very quickly here. For those who are new to this, you might be thinking like, well, there's a number of barriers that I bumped into that you may have with you, in your situation. And so the first one I had is like, I didn't even know it was possible. And what I'd like to do is sort of flip that and open that as an opportunity. And one thing that helped me was I kind of just kept a list of things that were either too hard to do or things that I just couldn't do at the time. And once you've got that sort of sense of like, okay, here's all the things I can't do, all the stuff I want to do, you may not know where to start. And that's when I invite you to go back to that list and look at the things that either might have the greatest impact, the stuff that interests you the most. Hopefully there's a little bit of overlap there. Things that you may have seen that you're like, oh, that's similar. Maybe I can build off of that. And so start with that list, but you may also feel like, like I don't want to deal with any of the code. And again, I'm not, CLI just stands for command line interface. Like, I don't want to do any of that. And I would say, you know what? Don't, let AI handle the coding and the syntax, and how to use it. And you can say like, hey, I want to use Google Colab Notebook. I want to do this thing. Help me write a script to do that. And it will, and it'll help you through the iterative process, because it never will, well, not never, most likely you're not going to get a solution on the first go around. It may take 27 times to go through it, but that process is the important part. And that's where you'll learn, right? More about what you want to do, but also how to work with AI to get things done. So I want to mention very quickly that from the very start, I had a lot of questions about the ethics about what I was doing. And these are just a couple of questions, and I'm not even gonna go through all of them, but like, hey, is what I'm even doing ethical? Is what I'm doing safe? What is the risk involved? How do I share what I'm doing and be open about what I'm doing? And I'm still working on a lot of these answers, to be honest. And I think it's more about the process of talking about these things and then coming up with just a simple answer. But the vibe coding collab that Brad ran and talking about some of these questions with my peers and people who know way more about this than I do was super useful. So I want to just do a quick shout out and invite people to future meetups. And in my closing, just want to invite you to kind of go back through what we have here. Think about things from your own perspective that you may not be able to do right now, but that AI might be able to help with. So I'm going to stop there and yeah, see, I know we had some great questions earlier on. I think it was Andrea had asked a great question about what about hallucination, especially around that 2600, LDAP example that Brad had mentioned. And the nice thing about the coding, vibe coding, is that once you've got the actual script, you don't have to worry about hallucination because it's a totally separate process to execute the code. You might have hallucinations with the code itself, and that can be an absolute problem, right? But I will say that once you've got the script, it will execute that script the same way every single time, even with different data sets. So you still have to worry about the hallucination. It's just at a different stage. So I don't know if Brad wants to talk about that more too, but that's just my first thoughts about that.
Yeah. No, I think you said it perfectly, Ken. I have nothing to add. You hit the nail on the head.
So sorry, I've lost track of some of the questions here. I don't know. I want to invite people to kind of just step in and ask. And okay, let's see here.
Yeah, I'll add if someone wants to just come off mute and talk also, that would be fine.
Oh, sure. I will share. This is a link to my presentation, and in there at the very top is a link to Brad's presentation, which he just shared, but it's also at the bottom as well. What's the next vibe coding adventure? That's a great question. Right now, it is, for me, refining a tool that is roughly being called like a date shift or date time shift script, because a lot of the faculty that I work with, I know that for the start of every semester, it takes a lot of time and effort to change. You may have your course in Canvas set up exactly the way you want, but with a new semester, you obviously have new times and dates. And while Canvas does have a tool, it doesn't work in all situations, and there can be some limitations. So I'm trying to build a script to help for those sort of outlier or different use cases, or when the Canvas tool doesn't work well.
One thing I'll mention in terms of next adventures is also, we talked about the Vibe Code collab, and I want to do another round of that. So I'm working on the details of that, and that'll be shared in AI Horizons when those are all worked out. But I know last time there was a lot of talk about also, doing this via Zoom for people that are not located at University Park, and we will have a Zoom option for the next one also. So just look for more information about that coming up soon.
Yeah, and I'd love to invite anyone to take a look and start playing with these scripts. The nice thing is if you find like a little segment of something, you can ask AI to adjust it to your own needs. So thank you.
Thank you, Kent and Brad. I love the vibe coding presentation, and it's just to connect it back to what I shared about our creative labs. It's really fun to watch students get into this vibe coding when they do the AI code workshop. So yeah, if anybody has any questions for Brad or Ken, please don't hesitate to reach out to them. You can email them directly. You can find them on AI Horizons. If you have any questions about the AI Arcade, AI Creative Labs, or anything I shared today, please reach out to me. I'd love to chat more about your ideas or about getting connected with anything that we are doing. And just continue the conversation on AI Horizons and Teams. So if you have any questions for the community, throw them in there and someone will answer. I'm not always the quickest in there, but we do have great people answering awesome questions. So with that being said, it is 11, so I will conclude today's meeting and we will see everybody online for next month in October. So thank you.